Hi, this is Joe again with another review. For the sake of this video, I'm going to be continuing to discuss some of the movies in the James Bond series. In this video, I'm going to be discussing the 1973 film Live and Let Die, starring Roger Moore in his first movie role as James Bond. It also stars Jane Seymour and Yabek Kolo, who, like 20 years later, will be known for being in the lieutenant in Homicide, and the television series Homicide: Life from the Street, playing the villain. But also, this one also has the debut of Clifton James as the annoying Sheriff Pepper, who reprised his role in the very next film, which was Man the Golden Gun, which I previously reviewed. So check that video out if you haven't seen it. Because this movie, like I said, does debut Roger Moore as James Bond. Of course, this one he takes the mantle from Sean Connery and continues to play the role for the next 12 years. He done like 7 movies in like 12 years. And ending with A View to a Kill, which I also previously have reviewed already. I think I reviewed most of the Bond films already at this point. And of course, it also stars Jane Seymour in her very first movie role. I know this was her first ever professional acting role, but this was definitely her first movie. I think she was about 19 or 20 years old at the time she did this movie. And of course, everybody knows how drop-dead gorgeous she was, especially when she did Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman. Everybody went hubba hubba, for Jane Seymour. But if you really want to go hubba hubba for Jane Seymour, you should have seen her in this film, Live and Let Die, which was absolutely gorgeous. I mean, she was so beautiful to look at. It was unbelievable. I mean, she could be a professional model at that time. I think she might have been. And she played the character of Solitaire. And of course, what her gift was that she was able to read tarot cards, and she was a pretty good psychic with the cards and everything. And of course, she ended up losing her powers in this film, which I want to get into in a minute as I go on with the review. Of course, this video, of course, also has. I think this is also one of the more popular James Bond films because it has that theme song written by Paul McCartney and it was performed by Paul McCartney in his then band, or a second band that he was in. Of course, we don't know what his first band he was in the Beatles. So when after the Beatles, it was only like 2-3 years after the Beatles broke up, and he formed a new band called Wings, and Paul McCartney and Wings, and that's how it was built in the credits of this film, performing the song "Live and Let Die," and that was also one of the more. I think this song was in like maybe the top 5 of the most popular songs from a Bond movie. So that was huge. Plus, also, of course, this was like I said earlier, this was the first movie that Roger Moore plays James Bond in. After taking the mantle away from Sean Connery, and of course, this was also the second time in the history of the Bond series where you actually see James Bond's house. I think the first film was really his apartment. When you see Dr. No, when he catches the girl in Sylvia Trench, who's wearing one of James Bond's shirts, playing golf in the putting in the bedroom. And this is only the second time you actually see his house in the entire Bond franchise. It's only the second time you see it. So when he's there with a girl, with an Italian spy, female spy, of course they were having sex, of course, and he gets caught by M and Miss Moneypenny, who gives them a new assignment. Of course, the assignment was that 3 British agents were killed, and Bond is hired. It's kind of similar to the beginning to what Dr. No was when a British agent and a secretary gets killed by Dr. No's cronies in the first film. So almost the same thing in this one. Instead of just 1 agent and a secretary, it was 3 agents. They tripled it in this film. So one's in New York, one was in Chicago, one was in New Orleans, and another one was in the Caribbean, which voodoo was a big thing. and you have a lot of voodoo stuff running through the whole film. Of course, so Bond gets picked by M to go investigate these murders. I don't know what the hell was going on. So Bond says, okay, I do that. So he first goes to New York, goes up the FDR Drive, and of course, if you look quick, you see a white building on the FDR Drive that goes on the right side of the picture frame, and that was the 210 South Street. And the reason why I know the address of that building was that that's where my father used to work, in the New York Post. So he said, hey, that's the old New York. Well, of course, the Post is not printed there anymore. It's printed up in the Bronx, and all the reporters are in Manhattan, or in Midtown Manhattan, near the Fox News building. So the building's not being used by the Post anymore. It's pretty much abandoned. But the building is still there to this day. So they say, hey, that's the Post building. We're running by the Post building. And you see the UN, and they go up to Harlem. And of course, at that time, this is really the only Bond film where you have some racial epithets in this film. You really didn't have that in any other Bond film but this one, where Bond going up to Harlem is at a hockey. You in Harlem. There's a hockey in Harlem. You know, and everybody's going nuts with this hockey in Harlem. And it's like watching the Jeffersons, with the hockey bit through the first part of the film. And of course, he meets up with a guy named Mr. Big, who was played by Yopper Colo. And Bond didn't know that Mr. Big and this Island King or Island Ambassador were the same guy. His name was Katanga. And Bond finds out that Felix Leiter and the CIA were following this guy. Because they feel that some shady stuff was going on his island. But of course, they find out that it was heroin distribution. That there's a bastard involved with heroin distribution with this Filet of Soul chicken restaurant chain. And you see throughout the whole film, not only in New York, but in New Orleans, and it's they use that as a front to pass out heroin to people. And that's why you have such a big chicken chain because people going for the heroin, not for the chicken. And they found out that the guy who's behind it was a guy named Mr. Big, played by Yopper Colo. And the thing is that Katanga, this ambassador, is the same guy as Mr. Big. And he had like a false face thing going on, and that false face thing, I mean, it doesn't change that much. I mean, you can tell it's like the same person. And it's probably in disguise, a fake face over put Katanga's real face over Mr. Big's face, but it's really the same face. Really, I mean, it's like one face over the other. It's almost exactly the same thing. So it's like that's the same guy. I mean, it's the same face. When you're taking out the face on the mask, and he reveals it's the same thing. I mean, it's not realistic. It was like so fake. And of course, Mr. Big knew that James Bond was coming because he has his girlfriend Solitaire predicted that he was going to be coming. And of course, she pulls out another card that was the Lovers. It means that she predicted that Bond and Solitaire were going to be lovers. I mean, this is like what the seventh James Bond movie, and you know that the main girl in the film was going to have sex with James Bond. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to figure that, especially at this point in the movie series. You know he's going to have sex with Jane Seymour. And of course, when she does have sex with James Bond, she loses her, psychic power. I mean, if you're a virgin, you have psychic power. If you're not a virgin anymore, that's the end of your psychic. I mean, that was such a lame bullshit. And so, I don't have my power anymore because I had sex with you. And she got mad. She got mad that she fell into temptation. She fell in love with Bond and had sex with him. And says, that's how you lost your power. Oh, I'm so sorry that I had sex with you. And now he, all of a sudden, with all the women that James Bond has slept with throughout the movies, now all of a sudden he feels guilty of screwing James Seymour. I mean, if you feel guilty with James Seymour, of screwing James Seymour in the film, there's something wrong with you, buddy. So instead of being just a a 40-something horn dog, which he was Roger Moore was at the time. He was about like 40 when he did this movie, and it was really ridiculous, really a silly plot point. And also, don't forget, you also had the guy. I forgot who the actor was. I know he recently died, but he was, the head voodoo guy, and he was more famous for playing the 7-Up commercials. This cool black guy with a nice suit, and he had that laugh, the famous laugh of his, and he became famous for more doing the 7-Up. I think he got the 7-Up commercials because he was part of this movie. And he had a great laugh, great character, and it was a character that he could not be killed. And when you kill him, and you could destroy that body, and then he pops up from the grave. I thought that was so cool. That Bond whacks him in the head, shoots him, and then he whacks him in the head. The skeleton gets destroyed, and about like a minute later, not even a minute later, here goes another body, and Bond had to whack him. It's like killing zombies. It's like a zombie voodoo guy. You can't kill him. You can't kill the zombies. You can't kill zombies, but this guy you can't kill. No matter what you do, you can't kill this guy. So I thought it was a pretty cool bit. I mean, it wasn't really that much of a villain. It sounds like an interesting little subplot of a guy you can't kill. And it was a voodoo guy trying to kill Jason. And of course, early in the film, on the opening teaser, he did kill the British agent that was down on this island in the Bahamas, and that was a pretty interesting. So you thought maybe he would be like an evil accomplice or something, but he was just an evil. He was just a voodoo guy doing his voodoo stuff, because in this particular island, the voodoo is pretty big. And of course, when Bond goes to New Orleans to investigate the murder down there, he goes into a voodoo shop. Or Bond does, and that was a front for Mr. Big. So you had that stuff, all that stuff going. No, it was actually in New York. We went to the voodoo shop in New York, not in New Orleans. Even though voodoo is bigger in New Orleans than it is here in New York, but anyway, we went to New York for the voodoo shop, but not in New Orleans. I just want to correct that. And then, of course, it goes to New Orleans. You have the jazz funeral, which is a thing in New Orleans, I found out, and trying to investigate, and he's trying to kill him in New Orleans, like they did the agent and the British agent in New Orleans with the jazz funeral, and they picked him up in the casket and they walked off, and they had a big party because they killed this guy. I mean, come on, it was such phony stuff. And then, of course, when Bond finds out that it was Katanga who was, of course, behind this whole thing, or Mr. Big behind the whole thing, with the heroin stuff, and of course Bond figures out there's all the heroin stuff going on. Then, of course, we all know what happens in these Bond films. I mean, I've said it plenty of times. Bond does finish the thing. Kills the villain, and of course escapes, and of course there were several big set pieces in this thing. One of them is the bit with the alligator farm. And of course, you're not going to have Roger Moore jumping over the alligators to get out and escape from the alligator farm. But the person who did that, a little piece of trivia, was the guy who actually owned the alligator farm when that sequence was shot. And also, he also had a lion, an actual lion, walking around the grounds to protect the grounds from trespassers. I am not kidding. That's what actually happened. And of course, after that, you had in New Orleans, you meet up with Sheriff Pepper, played by Clifton James, who of course is annoying, and trying to get by and trying to call all these black guys black Russians, which was kind of, we all know it's ridiculous and stupid. We all know they're not black Russians. They call all these black guys who are chasing Bond in the motorboats black Russians. And they should mention that the boat chase scene, it really has a particular stunts, jumping over the road to go to the rest of the lake, or the river there. They did that several times. One boat goes through Sheriff Pepper's car, I mean, it was, yeah, it's like you have to stretch it was great stunts, but the boat chase scene went on for way too long. Sometimes in some of these Bond films, they have chase scenes, like I mentioned in my previous review with Master Secret Service, when they had the chase scene went on too long. That's what happened in this thing. That boat chase sequence was way too long. It took about maybe 5 to 10 minutes. I mean, it was too long. I think it was too long just to pad. I think the reason why that boat chasing went on for so long was to pad the sequence. And then you had Bond in a double-decker bus. After he got out of the boat, he got on in the bus, double-decker bus, and you had a long chase scene with the double-decker bus. I mean, that chase scene, I think it went on forever, and it was too padded out, in my opinion. It was too padded out. And because, you know, in Sean Connery films, Bond films, he didn't have that tremendously long chase scene like that. That went on for like 10, 15 minutes, a boat chase sequence like that. It was to me, it was way too long of a sequence. But that's what my one major nitpick of this movie. That's my one nitpick, really. And you had that, and of course, the scene where Bond's trying to seduce Solitaire. Of course, he also had his own stack of tarot cards, but it's all the same card, which was the one of the lovers, which Solitaire picked out before. But he purposely stacked it so he would pick up, or that Solitaire would pick up that card. And Bond knew that he saw him pick that card out earlier in the earlier scene, where she first picked out the lover's card, tarot card. And so he did it again, but this time it's all the same card, so that they would have sex. And of course, they had the whole thing, like I mentioned earlier, that she lost her powers because she had sex. I mean, it's kind of like the same bit with the slasher movies that came out during the 70s. I mean, you had to be a virgin to beat Michael Myers or Jason or Robert Englund or Freddy Krueger. You had to be a virgin. You had to beat these guys. You had the extra virgin power and all that stuff. I mean, they put that in this movie. You know, you had to be a virgin to be a good psychic. You know, with these tarot cards. I mean, and of course, Mr. Big went nuts and said, "Did you touch her? God damn it, did you touch her?" You know, he did the whole screaming that. And of course, I think also Mr. Big also had two pretty good, memorable, well, at least one is, sidekicks. He had one called Whisper, who was a big fat black guy. "Oh, you so talk only like this." You know, whispers. And the other one named Tee-Hee, who always laughs all the time, and he has a claw in his hand. I thought it was a pretty cool character, you know, with the claw and shit. Trying to be, especially after when Bond kills Mr. Big. Of course, they're escaping by train to go back to England or go back to New York or DC or New Orleans, wherever the hell they were going on the train. And here comes the guy with the claw to get even with Bond. And all Bond had to do was cut a couple of wires from the guy's claw, so the guy won't move, so his claw gets stuck, and so he loses. So the whole arm or fake arm comes off because he had an arm. I thought it was just from here to here was fake, but his whole arm was fake. And of course, all Bond did was the fake arm gets loose and comes off. Bond just pulls him off the window. Jane Seymour is in the bed that pulls down on the sleeper bed, it's like the Amtrak, and she goes, "What happened?" You know, because he didn't know what happened, and of course they went back to having sex again. And lying on the back of the train, of the caboose, was the voodoo guy, you know, with the great laugh. It goes, "Ha ha ha," and that's how the movie ends. And it was a quick ending there, because I guess we want to end the movie fast. And of course, you have the preview. James Bond will be next, and Man of the Golden Gun. So that's the next movie in the series. But me, I didn't keep the movies in order, my reviews. But I still think that Live and Let Die is still one of the better Bond films. And definitely, like I said earlier, at the top of this review, one of the more popular ones because you had the song, you had Jane Seymour, you had the Voodoo guy, who they want to appear in the 7-Up commercials, all in this movie. And it was a pretty good story of the Roger Moore Bond films. At least I think so, because I think Bond did a pretty good. I think Roger Moore did a pretty good job playing Bond in this movie. So that's my review of Live and Let Die. Please click on the video. Please feel free to comment on. Please subscribe to my channel. Please forward this video onto your Facebook pages. You can check out all my reviews and not only my YouTube channel, but at RowdyC.com. That's all WDY. RowdyC.com. That's a whole page of my reviewer, Christine Moore. And you can check out all my reviews and not only my YouTube channel, but at RowdyC.com. That's all WDY. RowdyC.com. That's a whole page of my reviewer, Christine Moore. And you can check out all of his videos on this website as well. Thanks for watching, and catch you next time.